Friday night, Saturday morning, Friday night. I haven't done this in ages, have we?
Been a minute.
We really haven't.
It's been a minute.
It has. What's been going on with you, my friend? Other than all the horrible stuff that's been happening in the US this week.
Yeah, it's been quite a week.
Yeah, it has. What else has been going
on? So you did give me the opportunity, though, so I'm going to get this out of the way because this is something that's been on the minds of myself and a lot of us here overseas on this side of the pond. I'm just going to say that 9/11, of course, is a time of remembrance, and we happen to have now added another anniversary to that tragedy with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I'm just going to say this real quick about it. Charlie Kirk basically taught me how to be a good Christian, a better Christian, and I believe he showed our country and also people who from other seas who watched him how to be a better patriot. And we can move on from there. I won't go too much further down that road, but thanks for giving me the opportunity to kind of sort of express what's been on my mind and on our minds this week.
Of course,
this is a welcome distraction, talking about horror movies and getting into some geek stuff.
Well, look, I also enjoy watching the occasional Charlie Kirk stuff, and while I don't agree wholeheartedly with a lot of the religious content that he gives, I do see some value in that, and I actually I like his vibe. I like his vibe. So that was a bit of a shock to wake up in the morning and see that. I thought that was literal bullshit news until everyone started reporting it. So that's Anyway, let's move on, and let's talk about what you've been watching lately. I've watched some fabulous stuff, but I want to know what you've been watching first.
Okay, so
let's go.
Most recently I saw, as you point out, a Vietnamese movie on Shudder. Shout out to Shudder people. And it's called The Housemaid. It's a 2018 Vietnamese movie. It's very typical of that type of genre of movie, and we can talk about that in a little bit. I also let's see. Well, I don't know how much we want to dip into it, but I'll just say briefly, it has some pretty cool scenes in it, some pretty cool slasher, gore, paranormal stuff. Then late in the third act, you learn that all that paranormal stuff was actually just from a slasher. I think I just spoiled the movie, but it is it's a typical sort of a Chinese type ending where you leave yourself scratching. Okay, well then how did all those things happen from before? You can't explain that stuff away.
So it's not as good as the Thai movie, The Maid, which is something that I made you watch recently.
Which I do want to talk about, which I saw many weeks ago. We can get into that too, along with the homework assignment that I gave you, which was
I can't wait to talk about that. Now, if anyone joins or watches the stream later or joins in, you see at the top, it says we have a Discord server. We do have a Discord server that is starting to grow with quite a few members in it and a pretty active chat. So there is a link in the comments section that you can click on that we verified actually works, which was important. We had to verify that worked. So anyone who wanted to join the Discord, please come in because there is a really good group of people there who are very active in chatting.
Yeah. Now, let's call them out. We got Anthony, we got Kirk, Soul Patch, and
Masashiro.
Masashiro, yes.
Masashiro, yeah.
And I'm calling out you, Kimba94, because you're the one who gave us that really solid idea to open this up.
He did. And of course, Keith is in there as well. Keith loves to pop up every now and then. He's more of a guest appearer than a regular person. But when he does come in, he leaves a pretty poignant comment. During the week, I watched some stuff that I really, really enjoyed. And speaking of the devil, Kurt Soulpatch has just joined the chat. I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer last week. No, last week I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer. I watched Bambi, The Reckoning. I watched Weapons. Oh, Weapons. I watched a couple of Chinese horror movies and Kisaragi Station Arty. Then I played I played the Exit 8 game because I'm very excited about
Hmm.
watching the movie.
Have you played
Um,
that before?
no, that was the first time I'd played it. So, do you know much about the movie and the game?
I know from the trailer and listening to your comments on it, so I am also intrigued. The premise seems to be perfect for a real eerie, atmospheric type of horror movie, almost kind of Silent Hill like, but perhaps more claustrophobic, which I kind of like.
Well, it remains to be seen because I haven't seen it yet. Now, there is a screener online available if we do want to watch it that has a massive watermark through it. So it depends on your tolerance of watching movies with graffiti on them.
Mm.
But the game essentially is you're in a small corridor and you keep moving forward, and a series of events happen. So a man walks past you, there's some posters on the wall, some doors on the side. And what you've got to do is when you're walking down the corridor, you've got to pick up something that's different. And if something is different, so for example, the arrow in the sign's upside down, the doorknob is in the middle of the door, the man walking towards you is smiling, or something even more drastic like the posters are really big, the floor tiles look different, you've immediately got to turn around and go the other way. Once you successfully find 8 anomalies, you can exit the station and you've won. However, if you fail to find an anomaly, the game resets back to 0 and you have to keep going again. Interestingly, the game says that once you found an anomaly, it disappears from the pool of anomalies you can get. So you can't go, oh yeah, I remember seeing the 2 guys in the hallway. I'll look out for that next time, because you won't see that. Now, Kurt says Exit 8 was fun. So I'm assuming that means Kurt has seen Exit 8. Kurt, give us a quick ghost rating out of that. 1 to 5 ghosts, what you would have given Exit 8. I know I gave Weapons 4 ghosts. Yes, 4. Neddy, what would you give it?
Would I give it,
Mm,
because I did see that movie as well.
mm.
Um, I I have to give it 4 ghosts. Frankly, if the plot was tighter and it had a little bit more, and by that I mean there weren't that huge gaping plot hole in the movie, it probably could have gone a 5. Also, it oddly enough, it was more intriguing than it was scary. Like you were just really looking to see where it was going. Um, and when the violence ensued, you were all in board. So there was a lot of the movie was waiting for the violence, which I thought was really good. It was handled very, very well. And um, what made the movie amazing was it it leaves you in the dark for a huge portion of the movie, and then it explains the rules of what has been happening in a very in a non-expository fashion. In fact, they do it in a graphic way, which I love, with the parents in the dining room table. Um, and it so you understand all the rules of it. And I don't want to give a big spoiler away, but you know when I say the big gaping plot hole, the whole movie, Dan, do you know what I'm talking about? I want to make sure we're on the same page.
I don't think I do know what you're talking about, because there's a couple things that I would consider plot holes, but I don't know whether we
Okay.
are thinking about the same thing.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we're in spoiler territory here or not
Yeah,
with
go on.
people watching,
Go on.
but so if this movie had taken place, say, like in the 1970s, I'm not sure there would be that much video footage available for people to be able to say ring doorbells and such like that.
All right,
Like
yeah.
to me, and secondly, you can't tell me that the Josh Brolin's character was the only person who was capable of figuring out how to triangulate the positions of all the kids and where they ended up running towards. Like they had, police detectives. This is like a national news story. Like somebody should have figured that out. like it's pretty obvious that like only 2 people could figure out how to get to where all the kids are being held.
Well, it kind of
Plus
didn't
the
make
ring
sense.
doorbells.
The other cameras wouldn't have picked up where the kids ended up. But I'm willing to forgive all of that stuff, to be honest. I'm willing to
There you
forgive.
go. I'm willing to forgive it because it
Yeah.
was just too goddamn fun of a movie to watch.
Yeah. I enjoyed the different perspectives. So, starting off with the teacher and then moving to Josh Brolin's character, then moving on to the principal.
Oh, I didn't watch the movie yet. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Kirk's talking about Exit
Exit
8.
8. Let's talk
Okay.
about
I was
Exit
like, oh, no, I didn't. But he watched Weapons. So continue, Dan.
Yeah.
I just interrupted you.
I enjoyed the different ways of telling the story, and I thought that was great. I'm not sure that the scene where you actually see the machine gun with the 217 on it actually added too much to the plot. I thought that was a really cool red herring, actually, but I'm not sure it added too much to the plot. However, I absolutely adored the final scene where the kids just rush and what they do to her. I'm watching that going, wow, that is awesome. I was expecting Children of the Corn type film. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't expecting what I got, and hence I was really pleasantly surprised.
I would not have minded more menace from the children in terms of like you were wondering if at any point they were going to be a danger to the protagonist that we were following. However, the payoff made up for that lack of dread with the children, because children, when utilized in certain horror movies like Children of the Corn, and I know, listen, I'm an unapologetic lover of Children of the Corn from the 80s, and I know there's a lot of people that really think that movie's a joke in hindsight, but I don't know, it was one of the first movies that literally scared me when I was very younger. I had to watch it through all 5 of my fingers.
We've all done that, don't worry.
Yeah. But
look at Kurt's comment about the final scene.
For that payoff, that final scene. So I saw that in a theater, and that was a movie that I had earmuffs on. As soon as I saw the trailer, I turned the trailer off halfway, like 4 months ago. That's what I do. I tend to watch many, many trailers of a movie that I probably don't intend to see. But as soon as I know there's a movie that I intend to see, I'll either watch that one trailer of it, and I'll try and avoid all of the trailers and news of it until the release. So this was one of those movies. So I fully had intended to go see the movie, but I still kind of wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to let me down. Got some positive reviews. Okay, boom. Dan, the theater erupted in that final act. It erupted. It was, people were hooting and hollering, and I found myself like clapping at times. Like it was a wonderful atmosphere to be in a theater. The last time I had that much fun in a movie theater actually wasn't that long ago. It was for Deadpool Wolverine, which is absolute trash. The movie's garbage. But that was a lot of fun to watch, though. Yes. It was a lot of fun to watch with a lot of people. And it, like, you leave it's a movie that you get, like, after you eat all this Halloween candy, and then you walk out of the theater and you're feeling great, get the sugar high, and then about 2 hours later you're like, that movie sucked. But man, in the moment it was delicious. But Weapons, the following day, I was still smiling. I think I wrote you after the theater. I said, I'm leaving the movie theater smiling. Let's see how after 24 hours how this sits with me.
Yeah, Lyle did the same thing.
It's still
Lyle as well.
It's a movie that I look back on, and I'm very pleased that I liked it so much, because I did not like Barbarian, which Barbarian sort of did kind of the same thing when it went to the Justin Long segment, and you see his little bit of a backstory. Then they do that perspective from like the 1950s when you get the kind of the backstory of the serial rapist, and how he sets up the underground tunnels for all those houses, supposedly, because everybody's leaving because the economy is going to hell. So this movie did it better. And I think it did it better because it was smarter dialogue, and the acting was A+. I mean, Julie Garner and Josh Brolin were phenomenal on screen. They worked great. And it's funny because even though they're sort of antagonists throughout the movie because of their different perspectives of how they went into it, the times that even when they were off screen, but when they were not off screen, but when they weren't together on screen, or when they put them together on screen, there was a believable chemistry between them. It was fantastic. And how you saw him just rise up to defend her and take action because a greater threat had been put into play. and you could see how these things also puts these two diametrically opposed people together in a plight of lives for the same common good. It was great.
I'm going to agree with Kurt here. I actually really enjoyed Barbarian as well. I like the idea of
A
it.
lot of my friends like Barbarian too. I'm on the outside of it. I know that. I just didn't do it for me. The jump scare at the beginning, I said, okay, where's this going? And then I thought the monster's ridiculous. We don't have to. We can debate if you want to, but
I
the
don't
monster
remember the
was
film that much because I've watched it so
hard.
long ago. My memory of it's rather vague, and I've watched so many movies since
An
then.
inbred daughter becomes this ogre. Like there's
That's
no
yeah.
reason for any of it.
But there's no reason for anything we watch. There's no reason for Jason to exist. There's no reason for Michael to exist.
I need a little bit of something. I need just a little bit. Just pretend. Like I tell my son, just pretend to have gratitude. Like pretend to give me some kind of reasoning for something. Like Freddy Krueger was the child of a nun raped by a bunch of maniacal killers, and then he was burned alive in a basement and he pledged that he would have vengeance, et cetera, but no, she just happens to be this mutant ogre that can tear people's arms apart. I mean,
well, see, this is what gets me about weapons, and that's probably what I would consider a plot hole. Is that I don't actually know anything about the auntie, and I don't. We don't know why she does what she does. We don't know any of the reason for her being that way, other than what's written on the side of the other woman's car. So but I can forgive that, and I don't care about that because it was so enjoyable. And look, Kurt raised a good comment: 80s horror for the win, brother. And I think you and I have discussed many times that some of our favorite movies, even the cheesy ones like Chopping Mall, all come from the 80s because they're just silly. We just had a lot of silly fun with it. And one of the movies that you asked me to look at was set early 90s, but it was still not silly. It was still a good film with being The Exorcist. Sorry, I'll take it back. Exorcist was not a silly film. Exorcist was a great film, but it's a 90s horror film. We had a crap run of horrors, I think, 2010s. Very crap run.
Yeah.
And a lot of remakes, a lot of stuff that we didn't enjoy. And of course, then when we talk about remakes, I want to quickly touch on I Know What You Did Last Summer, because I feel that it was a movie that didn't need to exist. Once I got to the halfway point, I realized it didn't need to exist, because the only way that it was surviving was nostalgia. And it kept going back to Jennifer Love Hewitt. It kept going back to Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar. Then, I felt sorry for Ryan Phillippe not getting his cameo in the film as well. Yeah. So that's done wrong. And then I look back at Final Destination Bloodline, which we haven't had a Final Destination movie in a decade, I think. And it was so fun. It kept some of the rules of Final Destination, but then just did something completely different. And it was so much. And I've always said this: I hate movies that have horrible characters. Final Destination threatened to have a whole bunch of horrible characters, and then it just quickly did a 180 on most of them. And all of a sudden, I found myself loving all of the characters. Didn't want a single one of them to die. And Lyle and I were bringing that up during the week about Bambi as well, because he said to me, Bambi's fun, but it does that thing where it's got all these horrible characters. And I'm looking at it going, yes, I understand why you're doing it. But now that Final Destination has done it right, I've got a benchmark. You don't need to write characters anymore.
Yeah. It tells us that we know it can be done.
Can be done.
Like, we shouldn't be accepting, like, a terrible, remake, big 80s reference, churned through the mimeograph machine, just spun out and presented and said, all right, idiots, chuds, come give us your money.
You liked it 40 years ago. You'll like
it.
Remember
this? Remember this? Remember this? Come on. Final Destination surprised me. I forget, did we stream about it? Did we talk about it on a stream? I don't even remember. But Final Destination Bloodlines, and I'm not a huge Final Destination fan by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I'm not a big 90s horror fan at all. But particularly, I Know What You Did Last Summer So I even hearing that there was a reboot, I was out for the moment that the trailer appeared and I knew what they was talking about. I think when I saw the movie poster, I said I was out.
Right. It
But
just looks like
Bloodlines,
movies.
honestly, I was like, and then you said, "Hey, let's watch this," and I'm really glad you did. I think there's two movies that you said, "Let's watch this," that I was kind of, I'll say, lukewarm at most on. One was Bloodlines, and the other was The Monkey. And I
Yeah.
had a freaking great time watching both those movies. Just those movies were fun, just
Still
like
confused
Weapons.
with the monkey.
Weapons was just good, old fashioned fun. And that's what you want out of a horror movie. I mean, I can be a little bit autistic when it comes to like certain rules and things like that. And I want movies to have just to even, lie to me, give me like a fake authenticity to it and something. And I, like I said, that's why Barbarians rubbed me wrong, but Weapons didn't. Weapons really, really delivered.
Now,
When it comes
speaking
to
of
the witch
rules,
part of it,
yeah,
and was it Gladys? When, you know, the other part of it that not so much plot hole, but I think you alluded to this, like when she pops up in the woods, that's creepy, and that's very much I felt like Stephen King It type of stuff,
hmm
like this creepy multicolored, weirdo in the middle of the woods. Like that's creepy. But then he's like dial back, like, why was she there? Was that imaginations? Was
seem
she
to be imaginations. Yes,
so okay, that's what you got out of it. That she was
yeah,
basically her presence was creating delusions, imaginations, and nightmares
yeah.
in the people of the town, the people who are affected by the children being lost.
That's how I saw it too. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what I
speaking of
said. So
rules,
I kind of lean that way too because I like the movie so much. It's one of those tactics where uh, writers shouldn't have to explain everything that you're seeing, and if you like the movie enough, you're willing to sort of connect the dots on your own. But again, only one person figured out where the kids are running to. Like
have you seen Kisaragi Station, the Japanese film?
Kisaragi Station. No, I was thinking Train to Busan. No, I haven't seen the Kisaragi Station.
So, look, I'm going to quickly get a rant out of the way here on this one. But Kisaragi Station had this idea that if you followed a particular series of train rides starting at 10:30 in a particular line, by the time you got to a certain line at a certain time, if you got on the train, you would end up at Kisaragi Station. And inside Kisaragi Station is everyone who's trapped in the world, who's done the same trip by accident, who thus needs to figure out how to get out. And the way to get out is a door that appears, and the first person through the door can escape.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
keep talking. I saw your preview. I mean your review. Keep talking.
So in part two, the girl who escapes from part one decides that she's going to go back and rescue the girl who rescued her. But because she's gone back into the world a second time, the movie says the world has leveled up. So thus it's gotten a little harder. Now, what I've struggled with the movie, and I kept watching it to make sure that the movie kept the rules. It's a time loop movie. So when everyone dies, they wake up again and they just repeat the process over and over again until they can work out what they're doing. However, it seems when a new person comes to the world, that gets reset and they lose all their memories. They don't remember what's happened beforehand. So I watched the movie very closely to ensure that that's what happened. And it never introduced a new character until right at the end. So I'm not sure that it kept the rule. But what I kept looking out for is if someone escaped, did they also reset their memory as a whole brand new thing? Now there's a massive plot
So
hole
you're already inserting your own
because I'm trying to figure out the
theories
rules.
while you're
Yeah,
watching it because you want the rules to work, right? We
yeah,
want this movie to work. Like we want to make sense, even
yes.
if it's a bad movie.
Yes. So, and there's two really ridiculous bits in the movie. There's one bit, and I'm screaming at the screen when it's happened. They're trying to build a bridge to the door because they know if they step foot on the ground, a big eyeball will come and kill them, right? But if they're off the ground, so it's exactly like a game, right? The floor is lava. They're off the ground, they can get to the door. So they go and raid the school of all of the chairs and tables, and they start
Yeah.
creating this snake.
Yeah.
And they get halfway and go, "Oh shit, we've run out of desks."
As soon as
What
you
do
were
we
showing
do?
this in the trailer, you were showing this in your review,
I
it
was.
was screaming at me like, "Don't tell me.
That-
Don't tell me."
So instead of getting the chairs from the back, they run for it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you people doing? Like, come on.
Jeez. Even the people in the sand seem to be a little bit smarter
Smarter.
than
Yes.
that.
Yes.
I mean, and that's hard to do. That's a feat
Yeah.
in and of itself. If you have a character in a movie that could somehow act with more intelligence and strategy than the people in the sand,
Yeah.
you have accomplished a new level of retardation that frankly deserves a tip of the hat. Like,
Absolutely.
good for you, movie. That was well done.
But Ned, and this is a spoiler, so I'm sorry. Right at the end, or towards the end, they figure out there's one thing they haven't worked on to try and escape. And it's the most obvious thing you could ever think of, right? And it is, don't get off the fucking train, right? Because once the train leaves Kisaragi Station, the person gets transported back to the real world. What I've always found confusing is why a train full of people get off at a station they don't need to get off at, they have no need to get off at, and they have no idea where they are. The train stops and they all think, oh, we should get off here. When in reality, you'd be like, well, this is not my stop. Why am I getting off here? I'll go to the next station.
Yeah. Or at least be curious, like, Groundhog Day or like Exit 8. Exit 8 is you're supposed to realize a pattern and then turn around and do the opposite of it.
Now,
right?
then, once the girl has made her way out and it's the time loop starts again, wouldn't you think straight away, I'll just stay on the damn train and escape? But no, they don't. They keep trying to get at the door. And the reason I say this is because they know that it works. Because right at the end of the film, news about how to get to Kisaragi Station leaks on the internet. So the internet does what the internet does, and thousands of people try it. So there's a scene right at the end where the train pulls up at Kisaragi Station and like 400 people get off.
You get off.
Right? And the camera pans away from the final girl and she's got this grin on her face like, it worked. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so now you know it worked. Don't get off the train. Stay on the train.
Is there, like, you think some kind of I'm going to use the word fetish of in trying to make characters in movies be like the Jerry, you familiar with Jerry Springer?
No, we had it over here, but yeah, I know the show. Yeah.
The Jerry Springer effect, where people just want to watch people be, dysfunctional. People like they almost want to disappear and make themselves feel their life is better than the people that they're watching on stage. Like the Schadenfreude effect of daytime talk shows. Could it be that there is studios trying to make movies where people can feel like, well, those people are just so stupid. Man, do I feel smart. Like, are they deliberately trying to create that effect on purpose? Because that almost seems like it had to be on purpose.
And Kurt raises a good point. It's obviously the smartest idea, but where's the fun in that? You're right. And when I see stuff like that, I then have to remember who's the movie aimed at. Kisaragi Station is aimed at older teens, young adults, right? It's in
You gotta give them more credit than that, Dan.
But they're always online. They're always just on their phone. Like they're reading all of these urban legends and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I get the horror movies that are the bit more mature ones. We get the barbarians, the weapons. They're movies that are aimed at a higher audience, and you can tell because they're not the PG-13. Let all the teenagers in. These are movies that go for the Australian MA and the American R rating. They've set their audience up to go a bit more adult, so they start to give you a bit more plot. This movie doesn't. this movie sets itself up for a teen audience, and the teenagers aren't going to sit there and go, oh, yeah, why didn't they just stay off the train? The teenagers are going to be like, yeah, let's do the hardest thing possible, which is get out the fucking door, which you obviously can't get out of. Anyway, that's my rant. I still think Kisaragi Station's a great film. No, I still think it's a good film. It's just
That's just because you like the eyeball stuff.
The eyeball's hilarious because the movie's deliberately campy. It's very Death Foresty. It's the effects are not meant to look good, and that's deliberate.
I think that's where you and I diverge the most. Is that for me, like the smallest thing can throw me off the rails, whereas the one smallest thing can keep you on the rails.
And maybe we look at movies differently. Where I look at, and my friend used to hate at this. I look at how things are made. So I start deconstructing that and going, okay, so there's the eyeball on the scene. Cool, they've used After Effects. So have they rotoscoped around the character, or have they green screened the character and put them over the top of the eyeball?
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking, right?
I like that aspect about you.
But then I start looking around the eyeball. So I start thinking, can I see green screen fringes? Because there's a scene in Kisaragi Station where they're driving down the road, and you can clearly see it's green screen because they haven't fringed out the background properly, right? And you go, well, that's deliberate. It's part of the cheesiness of the film. So what else have they green screened? How else have they done these effects? There's no dust marks. There's no trail marks. So clearly they've just said, well, we're just going to paste the eyeball on the screen and do it that way. Very Chinese style of doing effects, by the way. Whereas the Americans wouldn't do that. When you guys do it, you would go, hey, look, the eyeball's on the ground. It's going to leave a trail and it's going to raise dust. So we'll put some of those little effects in there. Again, rant.
I love it because I agree with it. And you take the time in your reviews to explain that. Like you don't just say I like it because I like the eyeball. You do take a moment to go into that. And for me, I just feel when there's something that's gaping or something that doesn't make sense or something that's inconsistent, or we get a character behavior that's completely out of place, that either the character hasn't been developed enough to know that they do that, or the character has been developed enough for you to know that that behavior is completely incongruous with what they've already established on that person. To me, that's just poor writing. That's somebody who could say, okay, we need to stop and re-examine this. And it can be fixed. It can be fixed with some basic writing. Like Weapons could have taken, an editor or two to review the script and say, hey guys, we need to kind of get around this one obvious plot hole. They could have done it. They could have figured it out. And they could have done with like a quite simple bit of dialogue. There was a blackout at the moment of the children disappearing, as soon as it is within like 2 seconds. Or they find out that like, ever since like the last couple of weeks, like all the houses within this block of town just lost internet or something, and it could have been due to whatever the witch is doing out there. I'm literally just spitballing here, just last second ideas. They could have been a room of writers or just like 2 or 3 people just spitball and brainstorm for maybe about 2 to 3 hours, and it couldn't have come up with something that could have inserted in the script. Anyways, that's the kind of stuff that I look for in a movie when I say they got lazy here, or they think the audience is a bunch of idiots.
Or the devil's advocate on this one is that it was written in and it was removed.
Okay.
That's the only other thing I can think of, because I fail to believe that there are a lot of things that weren't explained in the film. And, it's a phenomenon that's very specific to Hollywood and not to us. But you have your test screenings and your things where, people are invited to watch a movie and give feedback. I would be curious to know what the test screening of Weapons was, whether there was something about, the FBI, the CIA investigating it, whether there was something explaining the triangulation of it and the audience thought that was too complex, or they didn't like it, or that it ruined the flow of the movie. Having said that, that probably would have meant introducing a new character or two. So that could have been then scrapped out at the producer side when he first read the script, going, well, I don't think I want to explain this bit. And he could have deleted it. We'll never know. We had
a police officer. We had scenes at a police station. You could have easily had chatter going off in the background.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like, this is the seventh report of someone saying their door cam's not working anymore. And,
Yeah,
just as they're walking by, it's in the background, they're hearing it.
yeah.
Or like,
What,
yeah,
what,
he's
what
like,
do they
and then
call that?
someone's like, yeah, did you get the dogs back? Yeah, the dogs are all over the place. As soon as you bring them on the woods to try and track the trail of these kids, they keep on getting diverted, and they all of a sudden lose interest.
Is that referred to as a Deus Ex Machina? Is that what that's called?
Do ex machina.
Yeah, I think that's what that's referred to when you do that in the background. You just
Well, I think a do ex machina is when they actually they come up with some kind of they put in a an explanation or something that will save, say, the protagonist, that has no other context of the film other than to do what it needed to do. Like,
yes,
where
yeah,
where
okay,
did
all
that
right.
hand come from? Oh, how fortunate it is that they happened to fall into the one hole that had a broken ladder.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. So maybe weapons just needed one of those then to kind of explain that last bit. I wanted to know why soup was the sustenance of choice. And
Cheap.
and again, why no one would notice a little boy going to the supermarket every day buying a dozen cans of soup. Like there's
Yeah,
another trigger
and,
point there.
and I mean those. Nobody was changing, and they weren't putting diapers on those people either.
Oh, I
So
get what you mean. Yeah. So the place would have stunk to high hell too. Yeah.
yeah, like there would have been, yeah, there would have been some issues. Like that kid would not have been able to even walk through that house with how
No,
bad it would
that's
have
true.
smelled.
That's true.
And, yeah, it requires some suspension of belief that he really wouldn't have. I mean, listen, we hear about. In fact, I just had a thing where they talked about child predation and stuff like that, and how children can be very susceptible and to be very easily coaxed into not wanting to tell authorities things. So I guess that stuff I could get behind. And plus, the child actor was amazing.
Yeah, he
Um,
was.
so, anyways, higher marks for weapons. It was a blast for
Yeah.
sure.
And sorry, last thing, him being the surviving child, the first place the police surely would have gone would have been his house. And they
Yeah.
would have investigated it. So yes, there is a lot of suspension of disbelief, but it was still so damn fun.
Still fun. Still
So
fun.
fun.
Well done.
Yeah.
I can't,
Yeah. I
it's a
hate
movie
people
that
on
if it was lousy or had a really terrible ending, I
Hmm.
would be like hammering the hell out of those weak points, which we kind of did anyways, but we did so in the spirit of saying the movie was entertaining enough to easily look over that stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, we are running short of time because Dan's getting hungry and Dan wants to go for lunch soon. So,
Mhm.
should we we can only do one of two things. We can either look at the car list or we can quickly talk about our homework. I actually want to talk about our homework. What would
Let's
you?
talk about homework. Let's do
Let's,
it.
so, you go first.
Okay, I watched The Maid.
And
That
I'm going to
was
give
the
you a
assignment
challenge.
you gave me.
It's at 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes is my
Yeah.
challenge to get it done with. Well, you're not
Yeah.
going to get much of a story synopsis. I saw it quite a while ago, but we open up to a maid who's not the titular maid of the movie, and she's being stalked by some kind of would turn out to be this rabbit creature thing that jumps at her and scares her, and then fast forward, a new maid is being brought into this house. And this maid is with this a very wealthy, handsome man who has a very young, attractive wife. And we soon learn that this is his second wife because his first wife had died suddenly, died mysteriously at some point in time along this massive estate. And the head housemaid of the home is putting this new maid, this young girl, under her wing. And there is also we get introduced to, I believe, like the stable guy who takes care of the horses and some of the grounds, and another helper in the kitchen. She's kind of like a maid who does a lot of the cooking. What I'll say about the maid was all of the characters felt real. You got pulled into the story, and the one character that I actually wasn't really enjoying was the protagonist or the main character, I will say, who is the maid. I thought she was a little bit kind of, plain and ordinary. which made the third act all the more interesting to me because she took on a literal whole new sense of life and purpose. But the movie treats you to it has this paranormal type of feel to it, where the son, the child of the father, whose mother was the one who died mysteriously, is drawing characters and having all these mysterious visions and seeing this dark woman who is, we assume, his drowned mother, and the maid starts seeing her too. So it's one of those movies, Dan, that leaves you at the end wondering, were those apparitions real? Who was actually seeing them? Um, and I won't go into spoilers because I do think this.
It's an
I'm going
old
to give this
film,
movie a
so you can.
recommend.
Yeah, it's an
Sorry,
old film. So it's an old film, so you can. Yeah.
but if you haven't seen it, like I hadn't seen it, you should go and watch it. But the movie takes on a whole new feel in the third act, and it's over the top, but I love it. It's got a Reservoir Dogs type of feel to it, and I'm going to do another Tarantino movie, Kill Bill type of feel to it at the end. Particularly in the ballroom with all the people in the mask. And I love that they're having a white party where everybody dresses in white and such. That was just for what was going on, made everything just beautiful, frankly. Uh, it's
So I'm
definitely
gonna.
lost suspension of disbelief towards the end.
Oh yeah.
And you find about some of the motivations and the behaviors. But I thought it really satisfied me in that third act, but it was losing me in this first two acts, Dan, because it had a lot of that tropey Scooby Doo type. Oh, is she in the corner? Wait, turn around. Oh, there's a scary woman again. And she's just going to stand there and look scary and nothing's going to happen. And then we're going to move on to the next scene.
So part of what you were bringing up was, is it real or is it not? I believe it's not real because there's scenes where she's talking to a psychologist. So you can clearly tell that she has trauma. And then you can clearly tell by the end of the film, she's completely nuts. So she's clearly
Which
made
I
the whole.
loved. But the
Yeah.
boy was seeing her too. And what was with the rabbit at the beginning of the movie?
And so I'm not sure about the boy bit either. I've got my doubts about the boy bit.
And there are scenes in the movie where she, and I understand she's kind of like, I guess, pretending to be her, but I don't know. And then there's scenes where other people are like suspicious, and
So I like the movie because I love the actress. I love her. She is so stunning.
well,
And
she's gorgeous,
adorably cute. But
very cute.
she starred in some very bad movies. So this is probably her best movie since. And she was turning into Thailand's scream queen for a while. And she's just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth for the last 2 years. So maybe something's happened there. But she's made a couple of really good films and a couple real stinkers. So I've never seen her act in that way before, that final third. And that was a real pleasure to just
because
see.
you've always seen her being the scared girl running away from stuff.
Well, in the previous film that she was in, which was Siam Square, she played a ghost character, but she wasn't a scary ghost. And the movies before that, she was always the screaming protagonist final girl. So that's why, this movie was a bit different because finally I got to see her act and not just be silly or be cute. She could act in the film.
Yeah.
And when the car rocks up at the final third and she gets out of the car and
I liked it.
Walks into the kitchen and everything starts. I mean,
The kitchen scene was my favorite though.
Yeah.
When she was doing the dancing,
yep,
just like with the it was beautiful. I thought it was
beautiful.
really, really cute. It tied some things together. It made me happy you recommended it to me because
Excellent.
I was mildly to on the fence. I was finding enjoyment and it was creepiness, but I'm so tired of this. Okay, I get it. And about 3, 2, 1, scary woman.
I didn't want to tell you too much about it. I wanted to tell you stick with it till the final third, but then I didn't want you to feel like something big was going to happen and you were going to be disappointed. So it was one of those things where, unlike the house that Jack built, where I tapped out 45 minutes in because I just thought I can't put up with this. I'm glad that you actually did because the payoff that I wanted you to have, you had.
I had.
Now
you missed Boo Purse, man.
Let's go to The Exorcist 3, which was what you asked me to look at. Now, while trying to find the movie to watch, someone didn't tell me that there were two different versions of the film. There is the theatrical release, and then there's a director's cut. So Dan, thinking, well, Ned's probably watched the director's cut, and that's the version that he wanted me to watch, watched the director's cut. When Nedd and I then, a couple of weeks after I watched it, started talking about it, and Ned's going, well, I don't know what scene you're talking about, Dan. And I'm like, I don't know what scene you're talking about either. We realized we'd seen two completely different films.
Yeah.
But the same film, The Exorcist 3. Now, I believe, from what I've read, that the version that I've seen is the superior version.
It is.
Unfortunately, if you do get to watch The Exorcist 3, the director's cut, it unfortunately has legacy footage in it that was made up of footage from rushes, footage from a work print. So you'll notice during the film that the quality is reduced to certain bits. And it's exactly like the Halloween producer's cut, the Halloween 6 producer's cut. When the producer's footage gets cut into the film, you can visibly tell VHS grainy quality. Unfortunately, all that footage is lost. We'll never see a HD version of the director's cut with every scene in HD. But what is there is phenomenal. In the version that I saw, now I'm struggling to think back here, but in the version I saw, we've got a bunch of priests being killed again, and an investigation starts to occur that leads back to Father Karras from the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a gentleman who's in custody in the psychiatric ward of the police station who seems to be able to take on the form of Father Karras and kill people in his name, but because Father Karras is already dead in the film. The investigation then leads down to who is this guy and what power does he have? And it's quite a supernatural film. There are there are very big elements of supernatural in it, about possessions, about psychology, about getting really deep and dark into someone's mindset, and just about, using the devil to really, really do something evil. And again, I think our versions are both correct with the nurse. The nurse is also in your version, right? Where she goes to
yeah. That's one of the highlights of the movie.
That's it. The biggest difference, I believe, between our two versions is my one has Brad Dourif, good old Chucky, as the main. He's not the protag and he's not the antag. He's just the main psychotic dude. Whereas I believe in your version, he plays a very tiny role in it, and someone else.
No, I'm not sure about tiny role is the right word for it. He's a significant part of the movie. He is the man who is revealed to be the one who's in prison, and it sort of alternates between him and the father who was slain at the end of The Exorcist. But he has a monologue that is exquisite, which I'm sure was retained in the director's cut.
It was. In fact, it's longer. I believe it's longer in my version.
That which is why I need to get my hands on it. He's in K2 has seen a director's cut, which is how I originally knew of it. But he gives one of the, and this is a problem with horror movies, is that it gets glossed over. Like comedies and horror movies get glossed over for their performances, because that performance he gives is magnificent. And I'm reminded of like Toni Collette from Hereditary. Like her performance in that movie is frankly Oscar worthy. But
yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah.
Just because of the kind of movie, the genre that it's in, like it's not given any kind of seriousness. Like I think the one and only movie that I could think of, at least within the last literally 50 years, is Jaws. Right, which won Best Picture.
One of your favorites, yes.
It's my all-time. Worthy so. I mean, a freaking PG horror movie. Get that, which should have been rated R, but I know it wouldn't have gotten the same mass appeal because they took out a scene from a test screening It was too horrific and too bloody that they had to remove it from the movie. But yeah, that monologue he gives is chilling. Like I could just, it's honestly, it's up there with Anthony Hopkins and Silence of the Lambs, as far as I'm concerned.
But the reason I say I feel like he's a bigger element in the version I watched is because almost every scene he's in is that VHS rough quality. It's not that high quality, the HD version. So hence that's why when I'm watching it and I'm seeing every time Brad Dourif's characters cut onto the screen, it's that low quality. I'm under the impression, because when I look at the end credits, it lists another guy who was a bit more active in your version as a guy of interest, who is not in our version, in this version at all. And I'm struggling to remember who it is, but I do remember when I'm looking at the cast credits thinking, I don't remember seeing that particular guy at all. And then looking it up, and he was a bit more active in your version than mine.
Okay.
We'll have to double check that.
A little fuzzy. It's been a minute since I've seen the movie.
But I was so pleasantly surprised by how thoroughly entertaining and thrilling it was to watch. I'm not a fan of possession movies at all, because I think possessions are never done right. And this movie has a sweet little old lady driving in the back of a taxi, going to the police officer's house, doesn't look possessed at all. She's not doing any of that stupid possessed stuff that you'd normally expect.
Well,
Yet being controlled like a puppet. And thank you. Because when Indonesia does this bits in their movie, I'm just like, this is fucking dumb.
Well, so in your version, when they have George C. Scott in the hospital, after his friend had been, after there was a recent kill, I'm kind of forgetting the order of the murders that happened in that hospital. And he's looking for the nurse. And she escapes. And did you see that, how she escapes?
I don't remember, to be
She
honest.
escapes like a spider crawling on the ceiling right above him.
Oh, right. Yes. That's the same.
So,
Yep.
so then you noticed when she looks so innocent in a taxi cab, you're like, she's not right.
It's not right. Yeah.
There's something not right going. And then he gets there in the nick of time. And I mean, the scene has some funky editing, but it's still very, very effective when he saves his daughter that last moment.
Now, it's a great example of a director and a producer having very conflicting goals for what they want to produce. Now, if I remember correctly, that was from James G. Robinson, who did a lot of what's his production company called? I can't remember it off the top of my head. All I remember he did that Alicia Silverstone movie Crush with Carrie Ells.
Mark Wahlberg?
No, not that one. It's another one. Carrie Ells and Alicia Silverstone are in it. And so James G. Robinson was Morgan Creek. Is that Morgan Creek? He was certainly after something a bit more mainstream. And the version I watch is definitely not a mainstream version. It's not the watch that's going to get people in the audience and the cinema to sit there and be really enthralled or throw popcorn or that kind of shit in a movie. It's definitely one for us to sit at home watching it on video to really immerse ourselves in it. So I can see why William Friedkin wanted to get his movie back and wanted his version to be told. And why he didn't even want to use the word "The Exorcist" in it, because it wasn't about exorcisms at all. Can't remember what was the title that it went with. Can you help me out here? Do you remember?
No, I can't think of the original title it was supposed to be called, actually.
Now I'm gonna have to look it up now.
But I know that in the version that got the theatrical release, the version that I'm familiar with, the studio forced their hand on the ending. They needed to see an exorcism.
Yes.
So that was all shoehorned in, and I believe they completely created and inserted. So maybe the actor you're thinking, or the character you're thinking of, is the father, the priest that they get at the end of the movie to perform The Exorcist.
Kind of is, because I remember you talking to me about an exorcism scene, and I don't remember seeing one.
Yeah, that was the ending, and then he gets thrown up at the ceiling, and then he gets his face peeled off. His death was chilling.
And sorry, it wasn't William Friedkin, it was Peter Blatty. That's who I'm thinking of. It wasn't called Dominion. No, it wasn't called Dominion. What was it called? Stupid TMDB is terrible for information.
And then George C. Scott gets thrown to the ceiling, and Father Karras appears to him and says, "Do it now, shoot me," because he just got control just enough, kind of like a real. Remember this from The Exorcist, and then he shoots him.
It's called Legion. Was the version that I saw.
Okay, Legion.
Yeah. Legion. Yep.
That makes sense. I think K2 has that book, Legion,
and I believe it follows the book. Yes.
If K2 was here, he would have had all of this answered for us 10 minutes ago.
Excellent. Well, Mr. Keith, I think you need to come back. Now, speaking of coming back, this is very impromptu, so I'm not sure when we're going to do another one, but it's always fun to have a chat with you, Ned. So we will pencil something in, maybe give the viewers a bit more notice so we get a few more people in. But of course, we will tell everyone in the Discord what's going on. So that is the place to be, I think.
Please come and join us.
Yeah.
We welcome Discord and Discord.
Yep. Also, that's where we can throw ideas in, I believe. I want
to give us some movies that you want to see reviewed on live stream, and then I will do the homework. Just like Lyle gave us that piece of shit car movie we had to watch.
I haven't watched it yet. Now I do need to tell you that I will release your zombie video. I plan to release it before Halloween. I do need to watch those 5 zombie movies that you did recommend. So look out for me talking about those in the next couple of weeks as I slowly start watching each one and put your video together, and then hopefully release that just before Halloween. Okay?
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Excellent.
It will be for sure breaking my cherry on movie reviews in not so scripted form. Somehow I don't mind embarrassing myself live. But when I know it's going to be a cringe watch when I see myself.
Well, maybe we just need to do more unscripted pre-records, and maybe that'll be more comfortable for you. But anyway, who are you? What is your name?
I'm Nedd Knight. Thanks for hanging, and thanks for watching our replay. And please make yourself familiar in our Discord. Leave comments. Be a part of the conversation. That's the fun of this whole thing.
Absolutely. I am the Arty Dan, and this is Shockmania. Thank you so much for tuning in on both Rumble and YouTube. Catch any of the replays whenever you want. Come by the Discord, as Ned says, to say hi. Leave a comment on any of our videos. Like, subscribe, all that other jazz. And guess what, Ned? We'll catch everyone
next time.
See
Later,
you
nerds.